And now we will move to a more economic part of the conference. And we will start with Slovenia, with Tomaž Robič from the Energy and Climate Agency of Podravje. And the reason why we wanted to include also Slovenia in this conference is because being a small country, it's often out of the radars. But what we could see is that there can be quite interesting conditions for the small wind industry. So now we have an expert that can tell us a little bit more, and I encourage the developers to ask questions. Now we have the chance to talk to someone who really knows the market. Tomaž, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can see you. We can hear you.
Okay, super. I will share my screen now.
And sorry for being some minutes delayed with your presentation.
No problem.
Yes, we can see the screen.
Okay, can you see the whole picture?
No, not yet. It's just the presentation part, not the full screen.
On the full screen. Okay, then I need to check how to do this.
Are you with one screen or two screens?
One screen.
One screen. Then, when you are there, you just press F5, and then it comes as a presentation.
F5.
But you will need to share the screen again. Yes. Yes.
No?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, super. Hello to everyone. Thank you for the invitation to this conference. My name is Tomaž Robič from Energy Climate Agency for Podravje. We all know that climate neutrality is becoming one of the most important goals, for all cities and municipalities. And in our agency, we are offering different activities for municipalities, citizens in the local and regional environment, and in the field of efficient use of energy, renewable sources, and sustainable mobility. In this short presentation, I will briefly describe you the potential of wind energy in Slovenia, the current situation, and the subsidies that are available. As you can see, Slovenia's wind energy potential is not ideal. The use of wind energy in Slovenia still remains at a very low level. Main reasons are being low energy potential, difficulties in placing it in space in opposition from interest groups, as well as also the high cost of construction. Compared to PV plants, a small wind farm is still more expensive. There was no such drop prices as we witnessed in PV modules for smaller wind farms. But today, the prices of solar power plants or bigger wind plants per installed kilowatt of connected power range around 1,000 euros or up to 1,500. The small wind farms in Slovenia are mainly built for personal use in places where it's difficult to install electricity infrastructure. For example, as you can see in the picture, in the windmill on Kredarica to supply a mountain hut. But the most expedient is the use of wind energy as a part of larger projects. Wind fields using basic platforms of wind turbines with power more than 500 kilowatts. This map shows you the potential area for wind farms in Slovenia. According to our national strategy and according to the average wind speed, even though Slovenia seems to be far away from a perfect destination for capitalizing on wind energy, we are situated in Central Europe, far from Atlantic Ocean, but still research shows and confirm that it's still windy enough to effectively implement wind power technology to be economically beneficial. And with all of these measures and investment programs in Slovenia by potential investors, we can conclude that Slovenia has a lot of opportunities for tapping the wind energy potential. This picture shows the average wind speed 50 meters above the ground, And we can see that the most suitable locations for setting up wind power plants are in the southwest part of the country, where average annual wind speeds reach 4 to 6 meters per second, as well as in the part of Kamniško-Savinjske Alps. The minimum wind speed required for operation of wind plants is from 3 to 5 meters per second. This is the minimum speed. When the speed is too high, usually above 25 meters per second, farms shut down to prevent damage. But the best speed is around 15 meters per second. Then the wind turbines produce the most electricity. As you can see, the eastern part of Pohorez is also a good place, and this belt around Triglav National Park. And all this analysis shows that the power plant operates at approximately 8% of its rated power when the wind is 5 meters per second. All this capacity for harnessing wind energy in Slovenia for large wind turbines varies between 330 and 480 megawatts. But still, we are light years behind, both in terms of amount of wind and the favorability of public opinion. We only have 2 bigger wind farms that are currently operating in Slovenia, based on the register of declarations for production facilities, which is published on the website of our energy agency or national regulatory body of the Republic of Slovenia. Placing a wind farm in space and obtaining all the necessary permits in Slovenia takes 5 or more years. The total share of production from wind energy currently represent only 0.1%, as you can see from the table. These 2 pictures shows these operating windmills. One of them has been operating under nanos since year 2014. The other one, but the most famous one, is probably the first one, the one in Dolenja Vas, with rated power of 2.3 megawatts, rotor with a diameter of 71 meters, rotates 98 meters high. This windmill accumulates 500 cubic meters of concrete, 50 tons of iron, erected in 2012 and started operating a year later. Its owners also want to build a wind farm, but when this windmill was growing, we witnessed many confrontations between supporters, between opponents of wind energy, between environmentalists, even doctors, and these investors obtained environmental protection approval as early as October 2005, but then they lost building permit 5 years later due to all these problems with the land. All this time, in addition to bureaucratic opinions that were opinions about the expediency of all the investment, neighbors of this windmill complained that they would be exposed to the harmful effects of device. And these are all the arguments that arise with all similar projects in Slovenia. But still, there are currently 8 national special plans for wind farms in the process of development at Environment Ministry, of which 3 wind farms are planned in Western Slovenia part and 5 in the east. All these projects are in the preparation phase. Some has already got energy permits. But one of the example is also example of Voloja Reber. This is a part of Snežiška Plateau, very rich in European style and natural heritage, where also these environmentalists have rejected all the construction of windmills for the fourth time in order to protect the natural environment and birds. And apart from this wind farm in Dolenja Vas, we currently have no major wind farms in Slovenia. About public calls and support schemes for wind farms. Renewable energy resource projects are supported by the Energy Agency, existing feed-in tariff scheme, with support in form of a guaranteed purchase of electricity. 10 open calls have already been published so far. Energy Agency published a public call for investors, promoters to register all these projects for production facilities for renewable energy sources, and also cogeneration to enter this support scheme. You need to apply for this project. You need to offer the price of electricity produced in the facility in euros per megawatt hour to a public call, and then also you need to plan the annual amount of electricity produced in the facility. Total amount of money available for this call is 10 million euros. Then we also have EcoFund. EcoFund is Slovenian environmental and public fund established in 1993. Its main purpose is to promote development in field of environmental protection by offering different financial incentives such as loans, grants for different environmental investment projects. Currently, you can apply for a credit for a small solar, wind, or water power plants within this public call. The repayment period is a maximum of 10 years. Interest rate is 3-month Euribor plus 1.3%. The amount of credit ranges up to the amount of recognized investment costs, maximum 40,000 euros. An individual investor can submit several applications for credit allocation to the same public call for different investments, and several beneficiaries can also apply for credits for a single investment, where the total amount of such approved credits cannot exceed the estimated value of all the investment costs. Legislation in Slovenia for the installation of small wind farms. We have adopted regulations that allow the construction of small wind power plants for self-sufficiency or as a small production facility. Two regulations are important: regulation on self-sufficiency in electricity from renewable energy sources, and regulation on small installations for the production of electricity from renewable energy sources. All these regulations specifies the type, size, conditions for the installations. For a device up to 50 kilowatts, you do not need to have a building permit. Building permit is not required because these are smaller production devices. Key conditions for the installation and connection of these small production devices. Before the work starts, you need a static assessment. You need an expert fire safety assessment, an assessment from which it follows that the protection against lightning and ensuring the safety of low voltage installations are in accordance with all the regulations. Then device needs to be at the farthest point 1.5 meters from the neighbor, and the maximum height of this device can reach not exceed 10 meters or half the height of the object. The next tender we have is tender from the Ministry of Infrastructure, publishes a tender for the co-financing of constructions of operation of all small production facilities to use wind energy. The subject is the allocation of grants for co-financing operations for the construction of small installations. These incentives, which are granted as a state aid, are intended for the construction of new smaller installations for the production of electricity from wind, namely the power of an individual installation between 50 kilowatts and 10 megawatts. Eligible costs for co-financing are the costs of all external suppliers and contractors related to the construction of power plant, the purchase price of equipment directly related to the production of electricity from wind energy, and the cost of professional construction supervision services in the amount of 3% of all costs of operation. The date of publication was back in April 2021. All the funds need to be used up until 13 January 2023. The approved operation also must be physically and financially completed within 1 year of signing the contract, no later than the end of October 2023. Eligible costs of the operation are 20%, but no more than 200 euros per 1 kilowatt of the installed nominal power. And as you can see, the amount of funds in this period between 2021 and 2023 are more than 37 million euros. To conclude, according to data in the EU, each megawatt hour of wind energy brings five jobs. There is no reason why Slovenia should not be involved in the construction and acquisition of this technology. We have all the basics. We have adequate industry, transport infrastructure, and knowledge. But we are still late in the construction of wind power plants. We are late in development opportunities, and we also miss EU subsidy opportunities. But we can still join the wind power plant stream, and we can start with more radical steps towards the 2023 goals. If we believe in RES, then the construction of buildings for the use of RES cannot be socially unacceptable or environmentally objectionable. That's all from my side. I hope you got a picture of the situation in Slovenia. If there are any specific questions or suggestions, we can also be reached at the contacts below. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for the presentation. So I have a question before I forget. So from what I can see, most of the policies are designed for big wind in mind.
Yes.
And also the two pictures you showed, they were, I mean, wind turbines of a couple of megawatts, so quite large. Yeah, I mean, here, of course, many of the developers that are here are way below that capacity. Okay. And I was wondering, since you have many areas which are with remote access, is there any subsidy to give electricity to those areas in a way that is not generators or so?
Currently, there are no subsidies for those plants.
So how does it work? Is it the individual owners that have to find out, or?
Yes, but it's still too expensive. PV plants are currently are rising because of a net metering scheme in Slovenia, but wind plants are not.
Okay, so that was from my side. Any other question from the audience? Can stop sharing the screen, then I can see if there is anyone raising the hand. Right. So then one more question on my side. How do citizens see wind energy? Are they considering it at all? Like, as said, now we are discussing of these remote areas, and we are talking, okay, it's too expensive, but what are the alternatives that they have? If you live in the mountains, how does it work?
The only alternative is to install PV plants. Currently, PV plants and maybe also batteries. This is the best thing.
So it's the private user that has to solve the problem, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So if there are no questions to Tomaž, then thank you very much for the intervention. Having a physical audience here clapping, and yeah, then we can move on